Yeah, once again, we are back. Enemies of the State, Tom Trento, your host on WSBR Radio, 740 AM, broadcasting all over South Florida, on theunitedwest.org, on Breitbart TV, on Tea Party Community, and a whole bunch of other websites. Special edition today, ladies and gentlemen, live, direct from snowy Holland. We have a dear friend of ours who is a leader on the most critical issue facing not just the West, not just Europe, not just the United States, not just Israel, but now as more and more people are coming to realize this issue of Islamic jihad is destructive and dangerous for the whole world, and someone who has been on the cutting edge of analyzing and leading, who is the leader of his party, the Party for Freedom in the Netherlands, our dear friend. Please welcome warmly Mr. Geert Wilders. How are you?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tom. So good to be on your show again, my friend.
It's great to have you here. And if I am not mistaken, that room you are sitting in, I interviewed you back in 2009 on Inauguration Day. It was January 20th, 2009. I left, Geert, your office and went down into The Hague, and in every one of those beautiful restaurants, the 20 and 30-year-olds were cheering the inauguration of President Obama. Now, 6 or 7 years removed from that, what do you have to say to the 20 and 30-year-olds who were so caught up in the possibility of world peace and all of that? What are your thoughts along those lines?
Well, you know, Tom, I myself am very disappointed in the President of the United States. I remember that a few weeks ago, to prove my point, just after the Paris massacre at Charlie Hebdo's office, President Obama said that Europe should integrate Muslims better. And he suggested, in a way, that Europe was to blame for the massacre, the terroristic massacre in Paris. And I think anybody who says that, even if he's the President of the United States, should be very ashamed of himself. Of course, we Europeans are not to blame. Islam is to blame. The terrorists are to blame. And even to suggest that it's because we wouldn't want Muslims to immigrate is totally ridiculous that your president even suggested that. We even have, as you know, give you one example, the President Erdogan says that it's a crime for Turkish Islamic people to integrate in Europe. It's a crime against humanity, according to him. So please let us see it what it is. President Obama is wrong, was wrong, and probably will ever always be wrong. And we have to face the truth that Islam is to blame and really nothing else.
Yeah, and we have on this side of the ocean, we have a very interesting debate going on right along those lines. And those of us who have been fighting Islamic jihad, who have analytically and morally made a distinction, I want you to comment on this in a second, between the system of Islam and a human being called a Muslim. We have navigated that academically, intellectually. We're starting to see here even people center-left. In fact, I had just the other day a very substantial businessman having breakfast with him, and he apologized to me. He said, Tom, I love your work and all of that, but when we first met, I thought you were way off on this Islam thing. I want to apologize to you. You hit the nail on the head. Even center-left people here in the United States are starting to see that there's something inherently wrong with the system of Islam. Help us here in the West, in the United States in particular, navigate that tricky moral track between critiquing a political system but still having respect for the individuals who happen to be Muslims.
Of course, you are so right, Tom. That's very true. I even said in the Dutch parliament when we, with the Dutch Prime Minister, debated the terroristic threat of Europe and the Netherlands very short while ago, that of course, where there are moderate Muslims, there is no moderate Islam, and where at the same time not all Muslims are terrorists. Unfortunately, almost all terrorists are Muslims today. And of course, we should make a distinction between the ideology and the people. The majority of the Muslims are no terrorists, are no crazy people. A lot of them are like you and me and want the best for their family and their children and their country. But unfortunately, there is only one Islam, and that's the Islam that has been written down in the Quran, the Sharia law, the Hadith, the life of Muhammad, the worst example a Muslim could ever have. And we should make that distinction. Believe me, that if, even though not all Muslims are criminals, that if any country in the world, also America, when you would face more Islamic immigration in your country, then the same in America will happen than is happening in Europe today. You will become less free, you will have less freedom of speech, you will have more crime, you will have more violence, once again, because Islam looks like a religion. It has a temple, it has imams, it has a holy book, but as a matter of fact, Islam is not so much a religion, but a totalitarian ideology. The example I always give to people to prove that point is that, like communism or fascism, the penalty of leaving Islam is death. It wants to rule not only a country's totally atmosphere, it wants to rule all people's life, and you are not free to leave it. And this is the difference between Judaism, Christianity, or anything else. So we should see Islam for what it is. It's not a religion, it's more an ideology. It's a violent and totalitarian ideology that wants to submit us all. We should not confuse it with all Muslims, because fortunately, not all Muslims live according to the Quran.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 12 minutes after the hour, 12 minutes after 4 o'clock here on February 5th, 2015, we have direct from the Netherlands, a member of parliament there, Mr. Geert Wilders. He's the leader of his party, the Party for Freedom, the PVV party, and this party has made astonishing gains within Holland over the past few years and developed tremendous respect throughout Europe now, as Mr. Wilders has maintained a principled position. As you just heard, it's very, very difficult to say this guy Wilders hates Muslims when he just came out and said, look, we're making a distinction. But it's very easy and it's sloppy thinking to go after the messenger instead of analyzing the message. Along those lines, Geert, we have a brand new Congress in the United States. They just got inducted in, and there's a lot of very, very good, strong, patriotic, Western-believing, Zionist-believing young congressmen and women in there. But as you and I know, when you get to Washington, D.C., all the fire of standing on principle sometimes gets doused by the system of D.C. Well, let's try to get him back as we're doing this.
Yeah, we lost it with the Skype thing.
All right, we'll get him back in. My question is going to be, what is Geert Wilders' advice to these young congressmen and congresswomen? Actually, some of them are a little older, but they're freshmen for the most part. What is his advice as a very, very seasoned politician now, who is almost 10 years? He's been an elected member of parliament in the Netherlands. Some people refer to the Netherlands as Holland. Some refer to it as Netherlands. Both are accurate.
But they're Dutch.
And they're Dutch, yeah. What is his advice to them? Then I'm going to ask him what his advice is to some of the activists. Many people who follow this show, Enemies of the State, follow the United West, are hardcore conservative activists as it relates to national security issues globally, as it relates to national security issues within the West and within the United States in particular, and Israel. What is his advice going to be to the...
And Tom, you've had Geert down here before at one of your events, did you not?
Yeah, we had him at a free speech summit, our #1, when we were called the Florida Security Council.
The day I met you.
That's right. That was April 2009. Right. Wow, how time flies. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 6 years. 6 years. I had dark hair 6 years ago.
I know
What
you
happened?
No,
you
didn't.
did. You had dark hair.
I
yeah.
did. It's my dark hair in 6 years is turning a little gray here. But my question to Mr. Wilders, who we just got back in on our satellite Skype hookup, is we have this very energetic new group of congressmen who came in with Tea Party support, concerned about national security issues, concerned about Islamic jihad, concerned about Israel. But Geert, you know as well as I do in Washington, that fire in the new Congress people, that fire often gets doused by the Washington system. What advice do you have? We have a lot of Congress people that watch our show. What advice do you have about them holding the line on these critical national security issues?
Well, I would say that look and be honest about the real nature of Islam. Don't see it as a religion. See it as a threat to your national security. And if you don't really believe what can happen to America, I would like to invite you to come to Holland, to come to Europe. And I will show you around in so many districts in our major cities in Holland, in Belgium, in Germany, as before many people from America did. And it opened their eyes. It showed them that, once again, even though not all Muslims are bad people, that the influx and the import of so many people from an Islamic ideology to our continent, and once again, the same will happen to America if you don't stop the immigration, if you keep being politically correct and listen to your president who says that there is nothing wrong with Islam or that there are two kinds of Islam, that at the end of the day, it's a threat to your national security. You've experienced it with 9/11. We saw it in Paris, we saw it in London, we saw it in Madrid, we saw it in the streets of Amsterdam when people were slaughtered by Muslims. That please, if you want America, which is still a big example for me and for Holland and for Europe, your freedom of speech and your freedom, your nature, freedom is your second name. And if you want to keep it, don't make the mistakes that we made in Europe and stop the import and the immigration from Islamic countries. See Islam for what it really is. Don't fight the people, but fight the ideology that at the end of the day is costing us our freedom and will cost America its freedom.
Okay, you know what? As you were just saying that, I had an idea.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask
too,
you.
me too.
What? What was your?
Mine was we need to put a congressional delegation over to go over to the Netherlands.
Well, they're not going to do that, but that would be good. But better yet, we take our film team, we go over to Holland, and you take us on that tour of those areas. We'll just open the cameras up, and what they see, we'll put something back and bring it to Congress and brief Congress on what we just found.
That's a fantastic idea. You're very, very welcome here.
Okay, we're doing it.
We're there.
I'm going to make a couple of calls, raise the money we need, and we'll be on the we're seriously going to do this for sure. I think
seriously.
that's critical. All right, mark that down. We're going to, I've been there several times. It's fabulous, fabulous.
I'd almost like to get at, what we could, I'd like to get like some congressional representative over there.
Maybe
there's
a couple of people we can bring with us.
We can bring with us
and
do the whole thing.
I think we can do that.
Shoot it and film it and
love it.
Yeah,
great idea.
So we had, as I said, a few years ago, a delegation from the state parliament, the state Congress of Tennessee, and they were here and they saw for themselves, and they were harassed at the streets in Antwerp in Belgium, but also saw what happened in so many cities in Holland. They said, well, we can read about it, we can look at television, but to experience it ourselves, what it really means if you have so much Islamic immigration to our societies is a threat. So people have to experience it themselves. So please, Tom, you've been here many times before. Take your camera crew and as many people as you like, and I will give you the tour, and you can decide for yourselves and your viewers what it really means to a freedom and a society if you have too much Islam. My point is that Islam, at the end of the day...
Yeah, what? Islam at the end of the day?
He's locked up.
He's locked up for a second, so that'll...
Yeah, so we'll just flip to that for a second.
Yeah, we have... it's snowing in Holland right now.
Really, and, what a surprise that is.
Yeah, it's a 6-hour difference, so we're managing. You got something to say, Dan?
I was going to ask him I wonder if that trip from the Tennessee legislature had anything to do with them passing ALAC, American Laws for American Courts. Maybe they saw what an overabundance of Muslims following Sharia can do to a nation, and you know, they decided to come back and say, you know what,
look,
maybe we should pass this
It didn't
ALAC.
hurt, that's for
maybe
sure. We got him back?
No.
We're reconnecting with him.
Reconnect. Let him call us back.
He's going to call us back, and we're piecing this together, but that's fine. It's 20 minutes. 20 minutes after 4 o'clock. WSBR.
Man, I'm
radio.
excited about that idea, boy.
I
tell you.
think. Cut my mic for a second.
Okay. No, I'm excited about this trip going to the Netherlands and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we're back, and I was in this position, wasn't I? When we got cut off? Or was it this position? What the heck happened?
I think it's typical Netherlands. The Hague was shut down as far as all their power, all their internet service.
So they lost.
They went on what happened was they went on all in backup power, and so now all they have is necessary services up and everything.
Skype is necessary.
Skype is necessary, Dutch people. What are you doing? We had a great interview going on, and it's very hard to get Geert Wilders for an extended period of time. He's all over the world. But for those of you just tuning in right now, 21 minutes after 4 o'clock on February 4th, 2015. It's 2015 already.
Hey, I want to make the first
742 days till Christmas.
I want to make the first plea for the fundraising effort.
We're going to get into that. I'm just the new people just cycling in right now. 21 after. Tom Trento, your host here. Name of the show: Enemies of the State. We just had an individual on that we interviewed for about 15 minutes, who is a defender. Cue graphic. Defender of the West. But he does have enemies, and we're gonna talk about Mr. Geert Wilders a little bit, because we have done some work with him, and somebody coming in there. What's going on?
Is it safe in this room?
Imam Abdullah.
Chicken ass.
Yeah,
Muslim
chicken
guy,
ass
you.
little thing. Yeah. Why didn't you come in here when we invited you to interview with Geert Wilders?
I very much do not like that Geert Wilders.
He is not going to hurt you. Look at who we have on the screen. It's Imam
your brother?
Abdullah.
That is not me. That is my cousin.
Oh, okay.
We look very similar,
Abdullah.
but that is my cousin.
That's Abdullah.
And it says,
Okay.
I hate Geert Wilders.
That's
and
right.
I must agree with my cousin here.
Okay.
Is he still alive, or is
What's
he
going on our show?
Yes. In
Okay.
Pakistan.
What's going on our show right now? We had a member of parliament, not just a member of the parliament in the Netherlands, but the leader of a party. And Europe has, most European countries have a parliamentary system where you have a party. His party is the Party for Freedom, known by many as the PVV, Peter Victor Victor Party. And they are not just dealing with the issue of Islamic jihad and immigration, but they have a whole social program. And in fact, this libertarian slant that goes through the PVV, it's a pro-gay party, all of this in Europe. So people try to make Geert Wilders. I asked them once, how do you say your name?
Well, Alan Corman actually had a bet on it.
He goes, whatever. Call me Wilders. I don't care what you call me.
It's actually supposed to that technical.
He told me Wilders with a double.
Because
I think
it's
he
a
said
V-
He told me sitting right next to him.
Actually,
Wilders.
I asked not only him, because I did like 3 verification sources, because he'll say anything just to make you happy.
Hey, Geert, Skype back in. Solve the problem. How do you say your name?
Het
think he
Wilders. It's Het Wilders.
I think it's anything but
it
Gene
is.
Wilder.
Yeah, Wilders. But we just had him on for about 15 minutes. Then Den Haag, the Hague, which would be similar to the United States Congress in Washington. It's the governmental seat. If you have a bucket list, put going to Den Haag, the Hague, on that list, and it is one of the most beautiful governmental facilities in all of Europe.
I've never been, Tom.
It's really nice. I mean, it's in this complex, and you come out of the governmental building, all that old architecture from the 13 or 1400s. We had a surprise for him. We were going to play the Dutch national anthem,
Right.
which the music was written in like 1524, before the Muslims even founded America. Amazing. And we had him on. We were discussing several items, particularly in light of the Charlie Hebdo attacks. And,
Right.
and I was going to, the next question I had for him,
Yes.
because he's perceived and known worldwide as a political leader, but he's really a very fascinating human being. And I was going to ask him, when he found out and when he saw that video of the Jordanian pilot being burned alive by the Islamic State, what went through your mind
through his head,
at that moment? And that would have been very interesting from his point of view, because he says it and people just blow right by it. He doesn't hate Muslims by any means. There's even, believe it or not, I read an article, I think of that the Newsweek or the Wall Street Journal, somebody pretty substantial. Let me get the site because I think it's important. Here on the 5th of February, 2015, this was written by Newsweek. It was written in Newsweek, and someone did a bunch of research into his background, and supposedly in his lineage,
right,
he has roots in Indonesia. With
really? I didn't know that.
And the writer goes on to say, because he has roots in Indonesia, and a great-great-grandfather, whatever, was thrown out of there to
He's
Holland,
Muslim, like me.
that now he's angry at Muslims because he left the beautiful land of Indonesia.
Oh, God.
Oh, that explains everything.
And he looks so Indonesian, too.
Yeah.
He looks like Leif Erikson.
Yeah. So, but look, as we know at our level of whatever leadership we're providing to whomever wants to follow us, it can be a little crazy to follow us, but if you want to, when you're in a leadership position in any fishbowl, whether it's small or large, people throw rocks and stones and even bullets at you. That's part of what goes with the territory. And if you're an individual who's based upon a principled life, then death or injury, all of that becomes secondary to fulfilling those principles. That's what he's doing. I've been with him many, many times. Now, he does have all the time about, I'm not going to say the number, but more than enough people around him. The Dutch Secret Service.
Yes.
All of these guys are most of them are from the Dutch Marines, which is the Dutch Navy, which are the Dutch SEALs, right? So they came out of military combat positions, and now they've rotated into executive bodyguards for him because he's an elected member of parliament in Europe, in the Netherlands. And when he goes to various places, there's obviously an advance team. We work with them, looking at a bunch of different things. But as he says, he's not a prisoner, but he doesn't have freedom anymore.
Right.
So he can go a lot of places, can't go every place, but he doesn't have freedom anymore like you or I have.
Freedom is so overrated.
Yes.
Yes, it is. I guess I
understand
get
that. Let's go. What we're talking about, our big idea today is the unique development that's occurred in Western civilization, in particular Europe, where a guy who was viewed as a piranha, somebody evil and hating Muslims and all of this, has become a prophet, little p, a prophet.
Yep.
And how did that happen?
Well,
did he have, let me introduce it. Did he have some sort of new revelation? No, he's maintained for 10 years, Islam is the problem. Let's separate Muslims out. Let's deal with the political system of Islam. Now people are seeing it. That's our big idea today, that people like us who have been fighting this battle are critiquing a system, affirming the humanness of an individual, making a separation, and do not improperly critique us if you want to have any integrity. When we say we don't hate Muslims, we hate the system of Islam like we hate the system of communism or fascism or Nazism. It's pretty simple. Yes.
It's the same thing that happened. A lot of people don't realize this, but Winston Churchill was loathed and hated and despised and spat on when he came up and he talked about this rise of Nazi Germany. Everybody hated him.
I think you'd say Islam because he spoke about Islam.
Well, he also spoke about Islam,
objective way.
But he was so far on the the radical right, the warmongering Churchill, the one he says no. Look at the evidence; they're building up. I mean, I don't want to go to war. He's one of the very few people that actually fought in the trenches in World War I. He actually led troops in the trenches.
Nastiest war ever.
Nastiest war ever. So he did not want to go fight at all. But he knew the threat and the doctrine that was this ideology, this despicable ideology was making a rise in the world, and he had to speak out about it. And everybody, he was so far off on the fringe when he was doing this. But now, after World War II happened, he says, "Oh my God, what a prophet, what a saint." They weren't saying that beforehand. Just like
I wonder if he knew that we were going to witness Hitler and the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem joining forces.
Having a love fest. Just earlier today on one of the news stations, at 30 minutes after the hour, Tom Trento, Enemies of the State, you're on 7:40 a.m. on your radio dial. That's WSBR. We broadcast from North Miami all the way up to Palm Beach and both sides of the ocean to the Everglades. And, if you're camping out in the Everglades or riding an airboat and you have a pocket radio with you, or even better, we got to push iHeartRadio more.
Or if you're in the Bahamas, the signal comes in nice.
Oh, that's nice. If you could put up For the People, and this is my preferred way of listening to myself, okay? Well, how do you do that when it's live? iHeartRadio, and we're going to put up how to get there. And maybe you can put up the exact link to our channel.
Well, actually, if you go to theunitedwest.org, it's actually there. All you have to do is
linked right there.
You click the button right next to the thing. It says iHeart.
But that's listening to it on the computer. I want them to get an application on their phone.
Yeah.
So
iHeartRadio.
They can be broken free of the computer.
Well, iHeartRadio.
Like that.
But you can do it on United West.
iHeartRadio.com.
Well, you just download the iHeartRadio app.
On this thing,
right? And then you put in 740
You have to put in WSBR-740 Boca Raton. You're right there.
Yeah, you don't need to put the dash, just 740.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's a brilliant way to listen to it. But I do have a question for you, Tom.
Wait, I had I was saying, just this morning, I was watching the news, and they had a story about a guy who invented an application for a Spanish Bible, and he's selling them like crazy. He's making over 6 figures annually now. Young guy, maybe 22, 23 years old. And they interviewed him, and they said, "This is pretty amazing. You've provided this app. Spanish people all over the world can now, through your app, read the Bible and have a relationship with Jesus Christ, with God, and all of this. It's a Christian application." And they interviewed him, and he said, "Yeah, it's pretty good." He goes, "Now, I got a little bit of a dilemma." Guess what his dilemma was?
What's that?
He's an atheist. He said, "I don't believe any of this stuff."
Right.
He goes, "I did it for a business sake. I put it together." He goes, "It's fairy tale stuff." He goes, "I feel kind of bad that I'm making money off of giving people fairy tale stuff, but I don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense. If they want to buy it, I'll take their money." Right. I'm a Christian. I didn't want to slit his throat or cut his head off or light him on fire.
Why?
Why? Abdullah goes, why? Imam Abdullah just said rhetorically, "Why, Trento? Why would you not cut his head off or set him on fire?"
We most certainly would.
Yes, you would.
Yes, you would.
That's the clash.
Your religion will never survive. It is entirely too peaceful.
That's the
How
clash.
can you compete against the violence of Islam?
That's the clash of applications. That's the way it works.
You have no choice.
As a Christian, my heart went out for the kids, saying, you're missing truth in life, but hey, that's fine. Whatever you want to believe. Conversely, when we say we hate the system of Islam or we critique the system of Islam, and we're doing that as analysts, as academicians, of people that have studied it and have been unpersuaded that the doctrines of Islam provide personal, corporate, or public benefit in any way, shape, or form. But even if you mitigate that a bit and say there's some benefit.
A lot of fancy words on us.
There's some sort of benefit, but then on balance, are the doctrines more destructive to humankind or more constructive? We conclude more destructive.
Certainly to infidels, more destructive.
That is just an academic, analytical statement that we believe we have rooted in fact. But If you want to just make it opinion, make it opinion. But why do you have to kill somebody who disagrees with your belief system, Abdullah?
That is because it is written in the books that the unbelievers, we should strike their necks.
Thou shalt not think.
You
Cannot. Let me ask you a question.
Yes,
Abdullah.
yes, please.
And for those who don't know, 35 minutes after the hour here on the 5th of February, we've invited, and he's always here, this guy.
I know.
Not always. I was not here for your Geert Wilders.
Yeah, he's chickened
Very
out.
interesting.
Chickened out.
Chickened out when Geert was here.
It was just a wise decision.
Because Wilders can see through the Skype and can see right
and his
into...
security guards are very scary.
Yes, they are. They're all very
They are,
tall Dutch guys, you know. We could... the question to you, though, is... do you believe your Quran, and we'll just leave it there. We can get into the Sunnah and the Hadith, the stories about the Prophet, his life. We leave all that aside, just the Quran. I have one right here, actually. Quran.
Why are you touching my book,
Oh,
infidel?
sorry. I am
That
touching
is not
it.
real. That is in English, not Arabic anyway.
This is the interpretations of the meaning of the Noble Quran. It actually gives the interpretations through the best translation of the Arabic. So, question is this. Do you believe this is true?
150%.
Okay. Do you believe truth can stand on its own, or does it need to be defended in any way?
It needs no defense. If it is in the Quran, it is truth and fact, and the mere questioning of its truthfulness is grounds for punishment.
Okay. Come with me now. What we're doing here 36 minutes after, I'm questioning on the witness stand Imam Abdullah, Pakistani Taliban Imam. And he's a kinder, gentler one, though. And he comes and visits us on occasion in the studio. There's this, who is this?
That is my cousin in Pakistan.
That's your cousin in
Yes.
Pakistan saying,
Mahmoud.
I hate Geert Wilders. Don't we have something that talks about Geert Wilders hating Muslims? What is that slide that we have there? Well, let's put that one up. Oh, I don't hate Muslims. I hate Islam, said Geert Wilders. So you're saying you people hate him.
Yes.
He's saying he doesn't hate you. He hates your belief system.
Yes.
Okay. Follow me, audience, everybody. If this is true, you said it doesn't need defense. It stands on its own. Let me help you out a little bit with that. Let me modify the concept of defense to mean explanation. Do you think this book needs some explanation for people to truly understand what the original intent was when it was written to that audience to whom it was written?
Does it need interpretation, you're saying, or defense?
Explanation.
Explanation?
Yeah.
The
The
words,
interpretation is writing the Arabic to the English. You translate it. You interpret
Well,
the words.
let me
But
rephrase.
the explanation is what they mean to that person they were written to at that time, and then by application, what they mean to individuals today.
they
This
mean
is-
the exact same thing. Written then is the same as now. This
Well-
is not like your living
Let me
constitution.
Hang on.
We're rephrasing the same question.
Okay.
Do
I'm
you
trying
ha-
to
do you ha-
cross-examine the witness.
Do you have to think when reading the Quran, or do you just need to read it and do what it says?
Absolutely. Just read and do. That is part of the beauty of
So
it.
there's no
But
thought
but
in the
not,
Quran.
not in terms of Muslims, in terms of Mark.
Yeah, if I read it, I just should read it.
You
do
should
it.
not read my book.
Well, you want me to convert, right?
Revert.
Revert. Okay, so I should read it, look at it, and understand it.
All you need to do is say the
But
Shahada,
if-
then you can touch the book. Don't touch my book until you have reverted, okay? Keep your filthy, kuffar, infidel hands off of my book until you have pronounced the Shahada 3 times in front of my Imam, okay?
How are you supposed to read the Quran if you can't touch the Quran?
There is no need for you to read the Quran until you have reverted.
Okay. Oh, you revert, so you become a Muslim. Then you read the thing that tells you what you've just become.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Or you can
that's
have
an intelligent way of doing
or
it.
you can have someone read it to you. I can explain it to you.
okay.
I can turn the pages for you if you like. But I do not like when filthy kuffar hands touch my book.
All right, now follow the line of reasoning. You know, Mark laid out the fact that you need to understand it or just accept it. You said accept it. But if someone else wants to understand it, is it legitimate to explain what it means when
Yes,
you say...
I could explain some things,
Okay.
yes.
Like Kutub. Kutub did an explanation
Now,
of it.
if this is true, which you already granted in my opening question, said it's true,
Yes, the book is 100% true.
and Mark, after months of you explaining what the doctrine means to him, still rejects it and says not interested,
Off with his miserable head.
is the book still true, or does Mark's rejection make it untrue?
The book is still true. Mark's rejection makes him an idiot.
Okay. Now, if that were the case, what's the problem of letting idiots roam the face of the earth? What's the problem with that? Why do you have to be so offended by people that reject the doctrines of Islam?
Not everyone who rejects is, not all idiots who do not practice Islam require to be dealt with in a violent manner.
How about atheists?
Atheists are very bad. If you're a monotheist, if you're a Christian or a Jew, and you agree to pay the jizya tax and live as a third,
Jizya tax,
Yes.
okay. Second-rate citizen, okay.
third, fourth.
Third or fourth-rate citizen.
Second, don't push it. As long as you go on your way, you never insult the Prophet, you never insult Islam, and you pay your jizya tax, you can expect only a somewhat miserable life.
Oh, okay. That's
Okay,
not
if
too
you
bad.
are a polytheist or stupid enough to blaspheme
Or an atheist,
Islam,
yeah.
you can expect to have your head rolling around your ankles.
Okay. All right, let me get the audience up to speed as to what we're doing now. We're taking a very interesting dive into the psychology of Imam Abdullah, who is a Pakistani Taliban imam, very good imam, by the way. We've seen him in operation at CPAC in Washington, D.C. And he may be in operation on March 3rd in Washington, D.C.
Don't tell.
We're sending Imam Abdullah out.
Well, I got a question for you, Tom. I'm going to reverse the roles on you. Okay.
Well, I got. Let me hear it, then I'll see where it fits into what I'm trying to do here. Again,
Now, with
live television.
you're a Christian.
Yes, I'm a Christian. Born again, Bible believing.
I believe in Christian. Okay.
Thank you, Jesus.
So if I look at the Bible and the whole context, okay, and I look at it and I said, you know what, Tom, that's not for me.
Off with your head.
Is that your doctrinal belief coming down from the Pope and everybody else? Is that any way in there saying off with your head today?
You know, ironically, you mentioned the Pope and the Church at Rome historically managed Christianity for a long time. And whenever there's an integration of church and state,
Right.
that was a seriously erroneous integration. Yes.
What do you mean?
There was abuses by the state, which was the church was the state essentially in the
The
early
mosque
centuries.
is the state.
I know. So yeah, there were times in Christian history where off with your head if you're a disbeliever or punishment of some sort. But doctrinally, that was
From
not
the
in.
book.
This is not the Bible. That was not in the Bible. The doctrine of cutting your head off. It's not in the Bible. Just the opposite. A lot of people go to the Old Testament and look at a theocratic context of God working with a unique group of people, the Hebrews, the Israelis, at a particular, what's called a dispensation, a period of time. And then, in terms of Christianity, the Messiah, Jesus, comes and brings a new covenant, which is the whole idea of
A
the Old
reformation,
Covenant,
if you
the
will.
New Testament, New Covenant, which says, look, you're not bound by law anymore, you're bound by love and grace. So a proper interpretation and application of New Testament Christianity is no off with your heads. Okay, doesn't
Well,
Until
it's the
Islam
opposite.
come along.
Because we-
Put your head in the place of the fellow who's going to lose his head.
Yeah.
Give your life for your
I
brother.
mean, well, we hear this all the time. It comes in there and it says, well, in the Bible it says, if you gather wood on Sunday, you shall be stoned to death. I go, yeah, it says that in there. I go, yeah, but that was what it was. It's not what it is. What it was meant as a certain set of period, a certain set of time, which they live by those draconian rules.
What does it matter when
But hold
you
on,
both of these
let him finish,
religions?
let
Let me
him
finish.
These
They-
Muslims always.
I know they want to jump in all the time. Yes, we live by those draconian rules. But later, after time, when a new covenant came, those rules got reformed. Reformation. They got reformed. They no
It wasn't
longer
a
apply.
Reformation, but yeah, it's pretty good. You're pretty good for a
Unitarian.
unicorn. You're
Well, I'm
putting
just
it
saying,
together
but they,
pretty good.
but and over time, and then there was a period where the church tried to become the state, and then the state,
The Roman Church, yes.
Roman Church tried to become the state and
Was the state.
enforce a lot of really heinous laws where they kill you and stuff like that.
Voila! That's the problem with Islam, and the slow process of moving our dear friend Imam Abdullah from the comfortable position he may think he's in right now to the very uncomfortable position of experience an existential crisis is occurring right now.
With who?
Because I'm backing him into a position where he'll start contradicting himself.
I just one question about what Mark say. About what Mark said,
Yes,
and
go
you
ahead.
say. You talk about Judaism, then you talk about Christianity, and you're living in the past. When the next prophet come, Muhammad, abrogate both of these elderly, stupid religions. So it matters not. Muhammad said that mosque and state is one.
Very
And
good point.
That's the point, and that's when that's what happens. That's the reason this country is so beautiful with the First Amendment. We said, hey, listen, this integration of whatever faith and state is a bad idea. It usually turns into people's heads rolling on the ground.
Now, if we were in, folks, at 46 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 5th of February, 2015, WSBR Radio, 7:40 a.m. What are you doing? We're having a conversation after about a 15-minute interview with Member of Parliament Geert Wilders from the Netherlands. We talked about Islamic jihad and immigration and all of that fabulous discussion. Then The Hague went down, their power went down. So we are springboarding off of that conversation to look more deeply into the essential relationship of Islam to Western civilization politically, and then the interrelationship of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam as three of the world's great religions. And so that's what we're doing today. It's really very interesting. And here's essentially simplifying it. You have, from about 4,000 years ago, initiating, you have Judaism, which says, according to the Hebrew scriptures, according to history, that God commissioned a group of people to be his representatives on the earth. That logically makes sense. God's going to communicate somehow. He picks people to be their representative. And how are they going to do that? They're going to represent God by saying, here's the right way to live, here's the wrong way to live. I made this world. I'm giving you guys information on the right way to live and the wrong way to live. A lot of focus is put on the wrong way to live, the laws, don'ts. But if you look at the Old Testament, there's a lot of do's, and do's that tell you the right way. Okay, that was a particular dispensation. Along comes the Messiah, rejected by Jews, accepted by Christians, Jesus, who says, you know, trying to follow the law is okay, but it's impossible because you got to follow all of it exactly, every single, perfectly before you have perfection before God, which is what Islam says. We'll get to that in a second. Jesus says you can't do that, but I'm going to give my life as the sacrificial lamb. Oh, we had a guy disputing whether it was a goat or a ram. We'll do that on the next show.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to give my life. So he brings a new covenant of grace, a new relationship with God. Now, in here, in a theocratic society, the Jewish world, the church and state were together.
As it should be.
As it should be, according to Imam Abdullah. When Jesus came along, there was no church and state integration. In fact, just the opposite. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. But erroneously, the Roman Empire, which controlled the church at that point, integrated the church and state together, and abuses occurred. Out of those abuses, from about 300, when Christianity was identified, 323 AD in particular, with Constantine, was identified as the state religion up until the Reformation, 1591, with Martin Luther nailing the 95 Theses on the door of the Wittenberg Castle in Germany. That's when Martin Luther, a Catholic priest, said, we can't mix the church and state. Let's reform this Christianity thing. In fact, I'm going to protest against the Catholic Church. He
Protestant.
became known as the Protester or the Protestants. So Martin Luther led a reformation to take the state out of the church and separate them. Along comes at the same time, obviously Islam was moving in parallel, but conquered politically the Christian countries and said, no, the church goes back into the state.
The church is the state.
And that's where Islam is today. They said, your Jewish thing was good, we'll take a little bit of that. Your Christian thing was good, we'll take a little bit of that. But we're going back to church and state, and we now are the completion of God's plan on earth. Now, here's the problem with that. The problem with that, they've re-injected the state back into the church, the mosque, and therefore, when we disagree with the church stuff, the mosque stuff,
you deal with the state.
the state says you can't do that. You're a traitor.
Do you
You're
know
a
which
traitor
state?
to the state.
This is our constitution. This is our state rule book.
You deal with the Islamic State.
Yeah, then you die, you know?
All right.
So
that's the whole problem. So all you lefty liberals out there who think that it's just some airy-fairy thing, no, what they want to do in toto throughout the entire world in their caliphate or in their imamate, if it's on the Iranian Shia side, is implement this Quran as the Constitution, where you liberals have to live by that Constitution under those draconian rules, under those circumstances. Now, that's it, plain and simple, guys.
That's it. That's it. And you got Dr. Zuhdi Jasser out there saying, "Hey,
apostate."
In the model of Martin Luther, in a very loose sense, saying we've got to take. I love my Quran, Zuhdi will say. You know, I love the spiritual stuff and the praying and the family and all of that. But the state stuff is screwing everything up. We got to pull the state stuff out. And what happens with that?
Don't touch the Quran, Zuhdi. You're making a very big mistake, my
Understanding this, all right, everybody's heard about Sharia. What's actually just called Sharia, because that means Islamic law. It's
Sharia Islamia.
Yeah, it's not Sharia law. It's actually just Sharia, which means Islamic law. Sharia is integrated, woven, intertwined. They're with Islam so deep, you cannot separate it. They're conjoined twins sharing the same heart.
Can't be said. That's a good illustration.
You know?
Conjoined twins. This is the Sharia. This is the Quran. Joined together, have the same heart. You take them apart with one heart, something's not going to work. So
they both died. That's the reason that people get
yeah.
so upset when we come after the Sharia, because they know, the enemy knows, you can't separate the two.
But now watch this. If indeed Western civilization is a product of the Judeo-Christian motif, which is ultimately this. Even Jews today will say the synagogue has to be separated from the state. Maybe in the future, Orthodox Jews believe that in a very unique way, when the Messiah returns, there'll be a theocratic Israel for Jews based in Jerusalem. And then we'll be back to a God directing us directly, and through the temple worship and all that, back the way it started. That's what many Orthodox Jews are waiting and moving toward. Right now, the view of Judaism is synagogue and state are absolutely separated. So here's what we have. We have the Judeo-Christian worldview, which dominates the globe, in conflict with the Islamic worldview, which says, sorry, we're running a state. You guys can't live the way you do by having your religious stuff and then your democracy, which is an affront to whom?
The state.
Allah. To Allah. It's an affront to Allah.
You ever see these
signs? What are your man-made laws? Your man-made laws are not necessary. Every law you need is in that book.
In fact, I think they have one of those banners behind you that says, freedom, go to hell. I actually find that one. No, Islam will dominate the world, Sharia for the Netherlands, stuff like that. But there is actually a banner just like this that says, freedom, go to hell. Now, what it's not like freedom of.
I'm at 54 here.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So, but I want to get your comments.
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is a very interesting conversation.
But anyway,
if they're just tuning in, Enemies of the State, Tom Trento, 7:40 a.m.
But I really want to ask you something else beyond this. Okay, is What do you think? Because people have not heard your input on the pilot and the Jordanian and the burning and everything, and how this is going to reshape, or what do you think is going to happen with this?
With that whole deal? Well, I watched the 22-minute Hollywood production.
You're a masochist.
That was made by the Islamic State, and I was immediately struck by the high-tech production values, by the storyline of this propaganda piece, which is on par with anything the CIA could do, and the essential and necessary brutality of burning somebody alive in terms of accomplishing their objective. It was from a communication piece, from a propaganda piece, extremely successful.
Oscar-worthy.
It really was in its brutality. And what is it going to do? I don't think we're gonna. We have this initial surge right now of Jordan, really getting angry. I think that's going to subside in a little bit, and it's very confusing. It's very confusing whether or not the United States should get more involved in this, or whether we should leave it alone and let it be an internal battle for Islam, which it's moving toward right now. So I think we'll have to do a whole show on this, but it was horrendous in its brutality. And, I think tomorrow, on Friday's show, I have a video of the father of the pilot at the funeral service welcoming everyone. It's just a short video, very informative. We'll play that on Friday's show. And he simply says, because Jordan is made up of Islamic tribes which supersede Islam as a religion, the tribal relations are more important than the Islamic doctrine. So right now you got tribes fighting tribes, and that goes on. That predates
and
Islam.
He is part of probably the biggest, most powerful tribe in Jordan. So they stepped on into one pile that they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, it's like a little mafioso family from Idaho going into New York and screwing around with the Colombo family, and the Islamic State being the little group in Idaho messing around with the Colombo family. But the guys in Idaho have a lot of weapons right now. So, but King Abdullah was actually pictured in military helicopters.
Oh yeah,
in his flight suits and everything.
Oh really? He's actually.
He is angry.
They're projecting.
Well, I tell you what I really love about this whole thing, just from a third-party observer on this, is how the left has completely abandoned Obama as far as expecting him to do anything. They're not even questioning whether he's going to do anything or not. They know he's not going to do anything, and now they're turning to, oh, please, Jordan, do something. Oh, please, Japan, do something, because they've completely given up on Obama doing anything.
It's so nice to see all the networks ripping Obama on his lack of calling a spade a spade. I mean, for 6.5, 7 years, all we've heard about how great and wonderful the guy is, and Islam and linking Islam and terrorism. You're just an Islamophobe. Finally, all of the networks, and all of the people that said that you were a hater, you're an Islamophobe. Everyone is saying today what you've been saying for years, and yet the president is the last, still to this very
defiant
second, cannot. It's whatever. Bankrupt ideology.
And we had a CARE press release that came out that thanked the president for not implicating Islam in the Jordanian pilot issue in terrorism, because if he did that, it'd be very difficult to root out Islamic terrorism in the United States. Some bizarre statement like that. But the point we're making right now, the very, very big idea.
You mean this CARE, the one behind you? The one with the Muslim mafia?
Those guys.
Those guys right there?
Council on American Islamic Relations. The big point we're making right now is regardless of what needs to be done in the West, the United States is the only superpower in the world. Everyone looks to us for some sort of clarification and leadership. And this president, President Obama, this guy right here, who really functions he functions like this thing looks more than he presents himself. He has failed miserably in terms of identifying and naming the enemy, and the left and the news agencies are even starting to call him out on that. And he's doubled down so much, he's tripled and quadrupled down, that he can't back off and say Islam has nothing to do with the global jihad that we see.
Your president is so stupid.
He's got to stay there. And again, it's to the detriment of Americans and everyone else. But on tomorrow's show, Jumpin' Juma Freaky Friday, we got Jerusalem Jane. She's going to be
back?
with us.
She's
Yes,
back. Woohoo.
She's back. She's going to give us a little insight into the beauty and wonder of Israel. We are going on the 21st. We still had a couple of people sign up yesterday. We got maybe 2 or 3 more seats. If you want to come, contact me. We will see you tomorrow. Signing off on February 5th, Tom Trento. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Bye.